I find sometimes that I build up the difficulty of something in my head before I even try it. This will turn me away from doing it, and it keeps me from challenging myself, but that's not how you grow, and I understand that now. So, I've made some good progress this week. The main goal was to get the startup page more or less finished, and I got it exactly where I wanted it to. First was creating the two FXML pages that'll be the backbone of my project. I started with hopping into Scene Builder and made the two pages almost exactly like my original design. Although the encounter page isn't being implemented until the next few milestones, I wanted to get the GUI design phase finished. Designing them back to back just helps me keep a consistent style and a similar level of quality. Although I made a few small tweaks here and there from the initial design, it basically stood on its own afterwards, which tells me that the time I took to plan everything out was actually worth it. I'd honestly say one of the hardest parts of the project so far was just getting everything to launch smoothly without any errors. After some debugging and a bit of caffeine, I managed to get everything started smoothly. Next up was the actual GUI functionality. I started with what I thought would be the most difficult feature, which was the automatic new row feature. When all the rows above the last one are filled, when I bring focus to the last row, like with clicking on it or tabbing into it, I want it to automatically add a new row so I never need to lift my fingers from the keyboard and go to a mouse or something similar. Generally, when I'm working on some software, I try to always get the hardest thing out of the way first, at least on a day-to-day basis, because it gives me more motivation to continue and it just helps me get something difficult out of the way. In the original project, I actually had a separate button just for this, but I wanted to implement this in code. And honestly, it was pretty simple. All I needed was an event listener and some simple logic. I find sometimes that I build up the difficulty of something in my head before I even try it. This will turn me away from doing it, and it keeps me from challenging myself, but that's not how you grow, and I understand that now. Anyways, after doing that, I dived into the button events. The run button parses all the info from the text fields and stores it in the model object, which gets passed to the next page. You can also now save and load a party of combatants from a text file, and you can enable a setting that actually lets you load a saved party on startup. The only problem with this right now is that the menu item itself won't show whether or not it's checked if you have it checked, close the program, and then reopen it. But that's a minor issue right now. And with that, Milestone 1 and 2 are done. Looking ahead, Milestone 3 focuses mostly on just getting the data from model correctly showing on the encounter page, being able to add new combatants and enemies mid-fight, and getting a working page transition between the startup and the encounter page. Now, I don't think it'll be a big issue, but next week I start my new job, so I wouldn't be surprised if I run a bit short on time. Overall though, this week has been pretty easygoing, and I got a lot of good progress done. It's been a really cool opportunity to see just how much I've grown in skill over the past few years. And with all the work and progress I've been doing so far, I'm extremely motivated to see this through to the end.